episode 11, Politicking with Jira and Larry Love. Extremely excited today. Episode 11, brought to you by Jimmy P's Burgers and More, Becker Custom Builders. Got my guy Blake in here and the Lauren Maxwell team, Maxwell Mortgage. Episode 11, Larry can attest to this. When we started this was one of the first names I mentioned that I wanted on. Guy I really, really admire, listen to, respect the heck out of. Met him about going back now 14 years, I think. Just really, really honored to have this guy on. He appreciates strong espresso coffee like myself. He's a big hip hop head like myself. Larry, give our great guest his flowers that he deserves.
Yes, I got to get this guy his flowers. I mean, I first met this gentleman back in 2009 as well, 2010. We done had our battles on campaigns and so forth. But the best thing about it is we apologize, keep it moving, because we all believe in the one goal, and that's just to make this country and the state a lot better. And it brings me great joy to bring my buddy, my friend, who opened the mic for me anytime at Fox Studios, Trey Radel.
It's good to be with y'all.
The former Congressman Trey Radel.
Y'all have totally
put some
oversold
respect on that.
I gotta
name.
put some respect on that.
Oh, whatever.
And this podcast pretty much came because of Larry's appearance on your show. Now, me and Larry have been talking about doing a podcast for years and years, but when Larry came on your show a couple months ago, Larry hit me up. He's like, man, I need my own podcast. And I said, yeah, you absolutely do. Mind if I can get in it? He goes, of course. And
yeah,
we're able to pull it off. Thanks to Tim as well for using 239 Uncensored Studios. And here we are. It's funny how things work, how life works.
He traded the trendsetter,
You're still
man.
helping us 14 years later. He was one of I don't know if you remember, you were one of the first speakers we had for the Collier County Young Republican meetings. You came?
Oh yeah, that's when we first started to get to know each other and met each other.
Tommy Bahama.
Cecil.
So Cecil, that was Cecil. I know it was downtown Naples.
But he spoke at the one at Byron
Yeah, he did.
And then he came to a couple. Yeah.
Perkins, we had that back room.
Mm-hmm. Big American flag. Yeah. Byron had an event there. Larry, you had your event there. That room got a lot of use.
We got a lot of love. Matt Hudson, everyone.
Oh man, you're going back.
Yeah. I mean, that's when it all started.
Yep.
It all started then. Now look where we at now.
Yeah,
we
man.
Fast forward, man.
It is amazing though, over the years, just how you watch people grow, the things that people go through, the things they achieve, the ups, the downs, all of it. And I got to say, in Southwest Florida, it's pretty amazing, how we haven't seen each other in years, but you have these connections that you make, and it's still like I feel like I just saw you yesterday, man. And it's still really closely tight knit in the political groups, the business groups, and I wonder if some of that is because all of us come from somewhere else. There's a lot of people are in, people are out, but those who become shit, man, we're old now, old timers.
We're not young Republicans anymore.
We are not. It's family. And anyway, it's great to be here.
I reached out to you and you responded immediately and was able to get you on. So
it's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have some fun. Go ahead, Blake.
So as an outsider, I thought I'd catch you say something about apologizing. So did you guys have to go head to head at some point?
A couple times.
Yeah, Congressman Donalds, we ran against each other
in 2012, dude.
2012.
Oh, Donalds and him when it went together.
Yeah. And about 6 other people. But
There wasn't no really. Iverson, them and everybody else, they really wasn't no factor, man. I mean, you look at Trey, what he did while he was in D.C., his conservative voting record, it's impeccable. I mean, Trey, he won, but it was really him and Byron's show. And even Trace, I remember him saying, man, he's going to be something.
Now, dude, Byron, for perspective, so we were all very new to the game. I mean, Byron and I was 35, 36 when I ran for Congress and was in. And Byron is just a few years younger than I am.
Yeah, we was 32.
Yeah, so we're in our 30s and doing this. And neither of us had ever run for anything. I think I ran for high school class president when I was I won that shit.
I ran from stuff. Never toward stuff. I wasn't a Marine.
So you're 2-0 in elections.
But if you go and look at what Byron did in that first race in 2012, let's keep a few things into perspective. Sorry, now I'm already nerding out. But looking at what Byron was able to do, he had no money.
None.
So when you get into the race, like the things that I had an advantage of was I had been in media for a substantial amount of time. So that gave me a little bit of an edge, even above some of the state representatives that we were running against. I also understood some of the fundamentals of running for Congress. And the worst one is raising money. It's all you do. And it's a terrible thing, but it is part of our system, and a conversation about money and politics and all that kind of crap. That's for another day. So I understood that. And before I even formally launched my campaign, I was working it hard. I was working, donors in Naples, donors in Lee County and Fort Myers, trying to really establish whether or not I could be viable. And at some point I figured I could and began to build that up. Byron, in the meantime, was working grassroots organizations like no one ever has in this area. No one has ever worked grassroots like Byron Donalds.
He won Collier County.
And that's exactly what I come to. In that race, we had 6 people, and you had state representatives. What else is there? It's like a lawyer, but mostly institutional Republicans. One was a son of a former mayor, a former county commissioner, and former congressman. So you had these institutional Republicans. And we're all going against each other. And Byron and I, to go back to a little bit of button heads, in a very selfish way, when I reflect on that race, I was so pissed off at Byron. In a very selfish
2012
way. Yeah, because I'm like, that guy's taking my people. And it's a bullshit way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Byron worked his ass off. I did too. I was working grassroots. I was working all of the fundamentals that you need to in a race. But yes, in a very profoundly selfish way, as a candidate, I was angry that Byron was running. And because if you begin to break down the people that we attract, Byron and I don't know one single thing that we disagree on. And that includes, by the way, politics and culture, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point. And so, we butted heads, went head to head. Byron won Collier County with no money.
All he had was a trolley and Larry and Diane Harris and Erica, obviously.
And also, thanks for. I know I was on your show after we won the 2020 election, and you gave us a lot of credit to our ground game. Then you were like, Larry, how did you knock so many damn doors?
Yeah.
You guys, I think, broke the record on door
Easy,
knocking.
man. We hit, over at least 10, 11,000 doors.
Yeah.
Easy.
Now, I said this to Larry when you were coming on, we were talking about it, and I said this to Larry. I said, Trey was different people, you and Byron, but Trey was kind of Byron before Byron. And I think at the very least at this point, you would have been a VP candidate. So, with the things you were doing. And
I thank God. I thank God every day that I'm not.
Everything works out. God has a plan, obviously. But the things you were doing, with the hip hop lyrics on Twitter, as soon as you got
I did some crazy shit.
The town hall,
but aside from that whole thing,
you were our first hip hop Republican congressman.
Yeah.
People just didn't know that part of Trey. They probably looked at it like, man, what is this guy talking about? But other people I could say the hood, people in the hood, they were definitely like, this dude know rap music like no other guy know it before. And Trey was just that dude.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I stand by today that I got a lot of shit for while I was in Congress, I did an interview with BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed at that time, many years ago, was not the absolute leftist garbage that it is today. And they were just starting to get into politics. And in fact, do you know, here's a name I'll drop. Do you know who was with BuzzFeed that many years ago? Was Benny Johnson. If you know Benny, who's profound on social media, he was with BuzzFeed. That's where he got one of his starts. So I would do interviews with BuzzFeed, and I swore to the same thing that I do today, that many hip hop lyrics are way more conservative than they are liberal. And I would cite things like Tupac, most especially Public Enemy, and their inherent fear of a powerful and centralized government. They're the right today.
When you see Donald Trump clips, what music's playing in the background? Hip hop. I've heard Fight the Power.
Yep.
50. It's hip hop stuff because it's relatable to what's going on today.
And I think when you begin to look at the way that the left has always been in this country, I love to cite pop culture in looking at how the left is the right today. And I go back to things like the Black Panthers of stand up to the man. I go to even the 60s hippie movement of hell no, we won't go. I mean, those are people who are saying, you're not going to force me to go fight a war somewhere. And then you get into things like blaxploitation films, to hip hop, Fight the Power, to the 90s Rage Against the Machine. And all of these are inherently where conservatives are at today. And I think that this is actually a natural progression. My sort of theory or take on where the left and the right are today are that it's what should have happened decades ago. And the way that I look at it is this. Liberals have always been more or less kind of like socialism light. Like, we want some government involved, but we don't trust government. We stand up for free speech, but we need government to do this, this, and this. The right has always been like, screw the government, but we need a little bit of government here and there. And what we really see is that socialists have begun to really go down the path and become socialists. And what I've always thought about conservatives, as from our days of being young Republicans to my days of being a nerd at 14 years old and studying politics, is that I've always been pretty hardcore libertarian. Mm-hmm. And I think that the right today, with the new Republican Party, with people like a Byron Donalds, a Donald Trump, and more, they have come to what they should have been years ago, which is a more libertarian party that has an inherent distrust of a powerful centralized federal government.
Ooh, I love that.
You're pretty good at this. You should do this for a living.
Yeah, I love that.
That's where we're at, dude. The left went where they were going to go anyway, and the right is exactly where it should be today. Yeah,
100%.
But also, I think culturally, the things that I look at that I get like really angry about today, I used to admire the Democrats in the way that they stood up for free speech at all costs. And let me draw on some personal stuff, and you're damn straight I'll bring in hip hop to this. So where I grew up in a very conservative Cincinnati, Ohio, they had this is going to get a little weird. They had an art thing called Mapplethorpe come through. And I believe that there was some taxpayer dollars used for whatever. It was a very like grotesque, sexual in nature, artist type stuff that came through Cincinnati. And I remember I was super young. I was like barely in my double digits. And I remember watching this fight of the ACLU coming in and the government saying, no, we're not going to have this. This is terrible. Fast forward then to the very late 80s where I'm, 13 years old or so, and NWA is going to perform in Cincinnati. And boom, Cincinnati again, conservative area explodes. You're not going to perform. You're not going on stage. And I remember being such a nerd at 14 years old. I tuned in to a live press conference with NWA to listen to reporters hit them with questions. And it was fascinating to me at that age. And this is, again, my love of the left at the time who stood up for free speech, for NWA, for 2 Live Crew here in Florida, for Ice-T in Georgia and more. And I'm listening to this, and I don't know why. This still sticks with me today. One particular line. For whatever reason, it was MC Ren who was speaking the most. And he wasn't even the most, like popular, most profound dude of NWA, but he was good at what he did. And they were asking all these ridiculous questions like, does NWA stand for no women allowed? And they're like, no, that's just stupid. And yeah, we use the N-word and this is who we are. Mm-hmm. So then some woman asked, and I want to set this up like they're questioning MC Ren. This dude is probably maybe 19, 20 years old at a press conference with people who are hammering them in Cincinnati, fucking Ohio. And the woman asks, why do you have to use all those curse words in your songs? And MC Ren, who at that time I don't even think has kids, he goes, it's like this. He goes, when you tell your kids to pick up the trash, they don't pick up the trash. When you tell your kids, pick up the fucking trash, they pick up the trash. I was like, damn. It's just like profound stuff. So I go back to free speech at all costs. And here we are now. It seems to be only the right that continues to fight for this while you have the left. In fact, it was just Hillary Clinton herself on MSNBC 2 nights ago saying that there should be civil or criminal penalties for alleged misinformation and disinformation. And I'd say, well, you're the first to go.
Where do we send you? And before Larry beats me to it, Eazy was a Republican.
Oh, was he? I didn't even know that.
He went.
You
to,
know they went to the White House.
He went to the
I
White
knew
House.
that. Yeah, to visit George W. Bush, right?
Reagan.
No,
Oh,
it was
to visit
Bush.
Reagan.
It was.
I thought it was Reagan.
Yeah, it kind of got, but it was under Bush. Donated to the campaign, and he got crap for it. He's like, "Hey, listen, they supported me when I was going through my stuff for free speech, so of course I'm gonna."
Yeah. Oh, another quick fun fact. When it came to 2 Live Crew, there was a gentleman here in Florida, and you're going to know his name, who stood up for 2 Live Crew. And his quote, I'm paraphrasing it, he's in the New York Times, was something to the effect of either you believe in the First Amendment, you don't. You believe in the Constitution, you don't. These young men have a right to free speech. And that was Senator Connie Mack.
Mhm.
It was Connie's father that we all know, who stood up. By the way, Connie, our former congressman, he's like, man, I was the coolest cat in school. Everybody loved my dad. He was standing up for 2 Live Crew. They loved it.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's what he said in his rap song, the freedom of speech will never die. Oh, yeah. That's when it banned in the USA.
Banned in the USA. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We'll keep it hip hop, and we'll really delve into hip hop. But what's your take on all the stuff going on with Diddy? Yeah, exactly.
So,
what does one do with 1,000 bottles of lube?
Man, listen, you have a
that's
little
like
kid.
the American government fucking the taxpayer.
I looked at it like,
you know more lube than that, though.
I said, well, maybe he had, those little children's swimming pools. He filled it all up with lube. And I said, man, maybe he had 2 women in there wrestling or something, man. That's what I wanted to please believe in what Diddy was doing, But you hear a lot of things with that guy. So I never been to a Diddy party.
Freak off? You never went to a Diddy freak off? All the parties you've been to?
No, I never been to Diddy's party.
He never was around Edrin?
Yeah. Making that real clear.
Yeah, let's
I
clear the
didn't met
record.
Diddy before, but I never been to a Diddy party.
Smart. Just like 50, he said, nope, not going to one of those. But what I mean, it's really sad, to be honest with you, because it's a guy that
really serious allegations.
Even from music to business, what
culture
he's built.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot.
I never want to see a man fall. Now, you're guilty. And if he did this stuff, obviously you deserve to pay for it. But it's just kind of fascinating to me. This is like our culture version of Epstein, really. That's how I kind of equate it to.
Yeah.
So there are allegations that Diddy worked with the feds.
That's been around for years.
For many years.
Yeah.
In fact, it was Kanye. That is out there saying it, that he's a Fed. He's been working with the feds. And that's why he's been able to evade prison for so long. And, you just start to wonder, like, man, now we're getting crazy conspiracy. But briefly, like, look, the Epstein story, just at face value, I don't know anyone who could buy into that. I mean, everything that he did, he is the most infamous prisoner in the world.
Camera happens to go out.
3 of the 5 guards
it's a perfect
happened to
storm.
go, and the one guy was on break, the other guy fell asleep.
Yeah,
and he's on suicide watch.
Yeah.
So you look at that at face value, and you also look at how long he evaded arrest after allegation after allegation, investigation after investigation, and then you come to Diddy, and these allegations of him being a Fed for a considerable amount of time have been out there. Obviously, we don't know. No one
allegedly
knows. Exactly.
Clear the air.
And that's why I use that word all the time. Allegations, allegedly. Yeah, those are my reporting days of.
We're gonna be shut down when you started.
So these are serious charges, and there was I just heard a question asked that I was on social media this morning. That was from yesterday, of the prosecutor being asked, are you doing extra steps to make sure that Diddy is protected in custody, given what happened to Epstein? So it's not just a podcast or some douche schlep like me on a radio show questioning these types of things. These allegations and questions are now in the mainstream media.
Absolutely.
See, I don't think they can repeat what they did to Epstein to Diddy. America's not going to go for it. I mean, because America, we're not dumb. Everyone know they killed. That just don't make sense. Allegedly, yeah. And so for that to happen again to another high profile.
Well, they also said they wouldn't shoot at Trump again. That happened again too.
Yeah, and Diddy's going to be in.
It depends on how much information Diddy's carrying.
Oh, he's got.
He's
got.
I don't know
video.
how much Epstein had, but we think it's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, from what.
Do you want to just go, if we can, for a second while we're here, while we're in crazy territory? Let me keep my tinfoil hat on. this guy who attempted to assassinate President Trump, do you know how bizarre this guy's background is?
Yeah.
This dude is an American that goes to Ukraine during the war. So first and foremost, I'm just telling you, I don't know, but I would probably bet good money that Department of Homeland Security, to the DOJ, to the CIA, are at minimum, at absolute minimum, put the guy on the radar. Like he's
Already on it.
flag
yeah,
guy,
like
yeah.
there's something, even at minimum, like, hey, we've got a digital, little thing here on this guy, little file. Maybe nobody's even looked at it. Could even be just a computer automated type thing, right? Then the dude is on record saying, I'm going to recruit Afghanis to come in from Afghanistan, and says on record in an interview with, I think, either the New York Times or maybe Semaphore, and states, and I'm going to get them passports through Pakistan because it's illegal, but I can do that. The moment that any American or any citizen of any country goes on record and starts doing that kind of stuff, your intel community is going to flag the absolute crap out of you and begin observing you. And then you get into all these other issues of him, coming back and allegedly have committed crimes, but has never seen jail apparently or prison.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And some BlackRock ties, possibly.
I don't believe that's true. So
Okay.
what I understand is that video that is being purported that he's in another BlackRock commercial is not true.
Because there's
That
so
it
much
was-
stuff
yes,
out there.
I tend to go overboard on researching. As I understand it, that was just simply a video from Ukraine, part of the state-run media in Ukraine, putting him on camera. Look, let's say there are no conspiracies, that none of this is going on. I think that the truly sad component to this all is that we're questioning it, that the American public has lost so much faith in our federal government that we even have these conversations. And that, to me, I think is profoundly sad.
So can I ask a question as an outsider? Obviously, you were at some point an insider. You've been around this circle. What type of information do they get in Congress or in the Senate about
You
this
just
kind of stuff?
literally.
Is it blurred? Is it real?
Yeah.
Is it?
You probably
Are
can't.
they hearing the same stuff we see on social media? Or are we getting what they want us to see? Like, I wonder, as someone who scrolls and looks and who's trying to find answers about my country at
Yep.
this time, that's really unsettling on both sides, whichever way you want to look at it. What is really going on in our government? Like, what are they doing with this information?
There are classified briefings that members of Congress receive. When you're a member of Congress, you are automatically given a certain clearance level. And what I'm about to say has no bearing at all on classified information. If so, I'd have to kill you all.
Yeah, we don't.
So you're going to be in the cell with Diddy.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a week. So I was on Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
And I was, and still to this day, am rabidly against sending our soldiers in harm's way for these many ridiculous wars that we've been involved in. I was briefed multiple times on that. And the only thing I'll say is, generally speaking, anytime that I walked out of a classified briefing, I was like, well, I pretty much knew all that and had already heard all of that through most of the news anyway.
Wow.
So and look, they know that members of Congress, there are going to be certain members who do not stay true to what they should be doing, which is keeping classified information classified.
Right.
And they just know that certain things are going to leak. So there's not a whole lot that's given to most members of Congress.
Trey, you miss Congress at all?
Not at all.
Not at
No,
all?
no.
No? You don't think about the-
Let me. I loved the people component of it. I loved the working with people,
And
constituents, but also I loved trying to find ways to work with Democrats.
I was going to say, what stood out to me most I think you had your first town hall when you got elected and you came back to Naples and you talked about how no one wanted to work with the other side or work with Democrats, and you would find common ground, so something, whether it's football, music, got to have something in common, and that will kind of be your olive branch. And again, one of the reasons I thought you were great when you were in there, because you don't see that, the bipartisan nowadays.
No, there is stuff being done behind the scenes. Actually, I'll give a shout out to Congressman Donalds again. He did work on justice reform, and I will say, I'm not trying to give myself credit in any way, but very early on, before it was a popular thing, that's one of the things that I worked on extensively with very libertarian members of the Republican Party, as well as Democrats. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Again, this is more than a decade ago. Damn, we're old. But we were working on, it was a piece of legislation sponsored by Rand Paul in the Senate that was going to get rid of mandatory minimums, which are ridiculous in my opinion. And I sat, in fact, there was also a judge out of Texas, a Republican who wasn't that libertarian, but his concept was like, you need to give the power to the judges. That's their job, for God's sakes, not the federal government to mandate these things. So that was one of the first things that I worked with Democrats on was justice reform, which Congressman Donalds and Donald Trump would bring to the finish line in many different ways.
I mean, Trump's pardoned how many black men? I mean, I think he's
more than Obama.
I think significantly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll skip around to a couple more things, but because we don't have too much time, so we got this game called Rapid Fire. It's one or the other. You can give a brief explanation, but we like to keep it quick. Blake, you're more than welcome to jump in. Larry, you can jump in as well. You answer both. We call you a Democrat. We don't want that. But, someone actually told me, like, Pat, man, you put these people on the spot. They got to pick one or the other. But it's a tough list because I'm giving credit to both the people or establishments, whatever. So, you ready? Def Jam or Interscope?
Def Jam.
Because that...
Wow.
Because you got to Interscope, I mean, Tupac, 50, Eminem.
Def Jam is before them. Def Jam is groundbreaking.
I realize that.
Here it
so
goes.
many different ways. Def Jam. I mean, you get Def Jam, you get Russell, you get Rick Rubin, dude, and the way
that LL Cool J too
ends up working. LL Public Enemy. So that the Beastie Boys, dude.
Beastie Boys.
The Beastie Boys, to take Jewish kids from Brooklyn and Manhattan and who are doing punk music and to turn them into basically today so respected by the entire hip hop community.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, I can respect that. No problem. Public Enemy or NWA?
Oh, dude. I mean,
Told you it's not gonna
this
be
is
easy.
like, which child do you want to give up, man?
This will show if you're East Coast guy or West, even though NWA, I mean, goes across state lines.
I gotta go Public Enemy.
Wow.
I do.
NWA.
Oh,
I go
God, it's
NWA,
breaking.
yeah.
But
Can I share a very quick story about NWA? So I'm 12 years. I'm in 7th or 8th grade in Cincinnati, Ohio. And my brother and I took a school bus. And I didn't grow up rich, grew up in the suburbs. And I got off my school bus and on the finely trimmed lawns in the suburbs of Cincinnati, and there was a cassette tape. The top half was broken off. And I, since a very young age, have always been a freak about music. I took the tape, it was unwound down the street. I literally put out a number 2 pencil, because that's what you wound up tapes with.
That's right.
Rolled. When we came, both of my parents worked, and I watched my brother. And we got home, and my dad had a stereo, the dual cassette tape deck. And I wound this thing up, and I put it in. And the first words are, "You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge."
That just do something.
And
That's right.
To this day.
Dude, I believe, this sounds nerdy as hell, I believe that for a kid who grew up in a overwhelmingly white area in the suburbs of Cincinnati, that immediately opened my eyes to other cultures and what was happening in the United States in profound ways that did include how I would later learn about things like the abuse by the police department. I mean, that's, got F the police and more, but also what, in this case, young black men in South Central Los Angeles were going through. And I, to this day, believe that not only opened my eyes, but made me a more empathetic person But of course, then I would go on to love the music, and I can literally recite every single lyric of probably the whole album.
I believe
Maybe
that.
not the whole album.
I believe that.
I remember I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. My brother put the tape on in the car, and I was like, wow.
It just, when they say you are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. And when the drums and bass line kick in, and Cube comes out first on that, straight out of Compton.
Crazy brother.
Ice Cube from
All right.
I have one.
Go ahead. Gotta keep it quick.
It's real quick. And I know me, you, I don't know if you remember me, you, and former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, as we left the event, we went to Burn, had a cigar.
Oh, dude,
that's a
of course.
cognac. But that was cool. Now, Paul Ryan or JB? John Boehner.
John Boehner.
All day long.
Paul Ryan's awesome. I love John Boehner. John Boehner is a really good man.
He used to be my neighbor. We used to walk 5 miles every morning, man, when I would be in town. Like, that's my guy.
Hey,
he thinks he's a sex symbol.
Yeah, it's the whole way.
There's only one sex symbol in this town. That's Larry Love.
Oh, my gosh.
KRS-One or Slick Rick?
I go Slick. I go Slick Rick.
Slick Rick.
Big Daddy Kane or Rakim?
Rakim, but God, I love me some Big
God
Daddy
MC,
King.
Rakim. Your favorite rapper's favorite rapper?
Yeah.
Nas or Jay-Z? Please don't disappoint me on this one, Trey.
Oh, dude, I mean, this is tough because I gotta go Nas.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta go Nas.
Thank you.
Look, Jay-Z, obviously building an empire,
From a
the
hip hop
cross-cultural
standpoint,
appeal, but from a just, I mean, Nas.
Lyrical
first two
storyteller.
albums,
Yeah.
Illmatic, and it was
Yeah.
written. People sleep on it. Was written. I think it's just as good as Illmatic.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys or Eminem?
For me, I gotta go Beastie Boys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. MC Light or Salt and Pepper?
MC Light.
Man,
Biggie or Pac?
Oh, I go Biggie.
Wow. Okay.
Stop the mic.
Biggie, really?
Stop the mic.
All right. Here's a hard one.
But you see, this is where I start because you call me a Democrat, like
Well,
Biggie.
it's not
you know-
easy when you come on our show.
You know when I became a meme in Congress for one thing, well, for a few things, but one thing before blowing up that whole thing there.
No pun intended.
I again, it's just like part of these interviews I was doing at BuzzFeed and Politico, and I said my quote in this article was, "Biggie's for the party, Tupac is for the car," and I stick to that today.
I like that.
I like that too.
Biggie is
yeah.
for Tupac is thoughtful. Tupac is, I mean,
Poetry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Poetry.
and
But
it's
it's-
storytelling. When you go to that song changes, like again, to get into empathy and understanding, like the things that he saw, the things that he went through, like talking about, like, you know, paraphrasing very briefly about like, look, I'm selling drugs so I can eat. And he wraps that up with like, whatever you got to do to get by.
On the car ride home, Trey, please listen to Tupac's "So Much Pain" off the Above the Rim soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah.
That hits hard. And there's a comment on YouTube that's got like 30,000 likes. Someone wrote, "I'm a 63-year-old white person, never listened to hip hop, and this song just hit me."
Yeah.
It's my favorite Pac
He
song.
could craft, man. Yeah.
I have one more for you, Trey. Scarface or Blow?
Scarface. I'm not in with either of those. I can't tell you much about either of them, but Scarface.
Okay.
All right, this is the tough one here. Ice Cube or LL?
Cube.
Well, okay.
Cube.
That's where I would go. I thought you were going to go the other way.
LL,
That
I give
surprises
props.
me. What, Larry? What?
LL
Because he said Interscope. When you said Def Jam and Interscope.
Ice Cube wasn't Interscope, though.
But he fruit of the poisonous tree.
Correct.
So, and you still took Cube. Oh, man. But, you know, that's what changed your game. NWA, so I get that.
Yeah, but I go.
And
Cube-
LL is
Cube. It's just
Mount
somebody's
Rush.
just to feel. Yeah, listen, LL. People give him a lot of crap, you know, and he did those love songs. I need love, girl.
he made hip hop mainstream though.
He did. But I Cube, also a storyteller. He wrote every friggin' lyric
For
for
Easy,
NWA.
for-
Yeah, all of them, and that's why they kind of fell apart when he split. Both are trendsetters and groundbreakers, but Cube, man, I just love the rawness of it.
Yeah, he raw.
Super raw.
But I was actually listening to a little LL on the way here, man, and I was thinking,
What's your
like,
favorite LL song?
I was listening to one of his sort of hits, like "I'm Bad."
I'm
no
just going to say,
That's
I'm
your
bad.
favorite.
It's-
no rapper can rap quite like I think it just comes out.
man.
Put
Round the
faces
Way
in
Girl for
sand.
me. What's your favorite LL song, Blake? Pink cookies in the plastic bag getting
No.
crushed. But I just found out what that song means. I never realized what that means. It's a little graphic for the show, but think
Rock
about
the
it.
bells.
Rock the
Oh,
bells.
Rock the
are
Yeah,
good.
it was
I thought you
mainstream
were
when
gonna
I
say
was
big
young.
old butt.
I like big old butts, though.
Cannot lie.
Yeah.
All right, let's blow through these. Governor Scott or Governor DeSantis?
Nobody's gonna watch this. You're good.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, again, this is like, which child are you going to abandon? Dude, I mean,
You can choose. You can choose both. I know you work in politics,
Yeah,
so both are friends.
oh,
So.
dude, but I was sworn into Congress with Ron.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, if I may just share a very brief story about Rick Scott. So when I went through my crap and I stepped down from Congress, Rick Scott was the governor of Florida.
Mhm.
And Rick Scott, when I had nothing, I wouldn't even go out of my house. The first month, I wouldn't go out without a hat on, and I was in a very dark place for a while. And Rick Scott called me once a month, every month for 2 years.
Wow.
I had nothing to offer the guy. I'm like,
That's
and that
the type
I
man,
of
did not
man he
know
is,
that.
man.
Yeah. He just,
that man is a really good guy.
He is. I
And,
tell everyone that.
Yeah, and I have a very special place in my heart for him.
I've never
Okay.
met DeSantis, but I have met Scott, and same thing. I have a handwritten letter from him.
Yep.
Goes to a church that I went to a few years back. Friends with my mother. My mother still goes to that church. And from my, because I'm sober for 13 years now. So
just
he's
celebrated,
been,
right?
yeah, he's been part of that journey because I was going to that church. Him and his wife would sit next to me, say beautiful things. And when I don't remember if I had just finished drug court or I had done something, and he wrote me a handwritten note and said, if you ever need anything, if you ever need a favor, whatever it is, you can call me.
Yep,
And I have it on his governor letterhead.
that's
And
who he
that's
is.
the kind of guy he is.
And
I
you
mean,
could call him
In 24 hours.
and he will handle whatever you need. And if he's not personally doing, he will find someone who will help you
Yeah.
do that.
because he doesn't have to. Like he could. There's 200 people in
Yeah,
church.
he's
He doesn't
just-
have to
he's a
come
good
up
dude.
and say hi.
Mhm.
But both every time I
Yeah.
was there.
And his
How are
wife
you
is
doing?
awesome.
Yeah. And then we would serve food at St. Matthew's house because I worked at St. Matthew's house for a while, and we would serve food together on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, every Thanksgiving and Christmas. He's coming from the governor's house to Naples and comes to the homeless shelter.
Yep.
I mean, good people.
Yeah, he's good people,
Much
man.
respect
He's
to
great,
Senator Scott. Shout out to Pierre and Allison.
Yeah, they're great, man.
Morning host or drive home host?
I mean, I don't know if you're making me pick, but I mean, I drive home.
Better 'cause you have to get up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
God. I
See, I'll
wouldn't-
throw you some easy ones in there too. Matt Gaetz or Corey Mills?
I don't know Corey.
Okay.
Matt Gaetz,
Okay. Boomer Esiason or Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow. Boomer grew up with him, but yeah, Joe, man. Don't get me started, dude.
It-
The heartbreaker. The other
Icky
night.
Shuffle or the Dion High Step?
Icky Shuffle.
You're biased.
Of course I am. Yeah.
Congressman Donalds or Governor Donalds?
Governor Donald every day.
Love it.
That's right.
Love it.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin or Dr. Dre?
I'm going to go Rick. Yeah.
The RZA or DJ Premier?
RZA.
Tucker Carlson or Hannity?
Tucker.
Mark Levin or Michael Savage?
Levin.
Illmatic or America's Nightmare?
Illmatic.
Starbucks or Dunkin' Coffee?
Starbucks.
He is.
Yeah, I got my. I have a. That's
That could
4
be a-
shots of espresso. I like my espresso. I like my espresso dark and strong, like my women. I got Starbucks, I guess.
Outcast or Ghetto Boys?
Ooh.
I gotta go Outcast. Yeah,
I agree.
I go
Yeah.
Ghetto Boys.
I know Larry will back you up on that too.
Ghetto boys. all
Ghetto
over.
Boys, man. Telling you.
Cypress Hill or House of Pain?
Cypress.
Really? That's a
Yeah,
tough
look,
one.
I like House of Pain a lot, and what he did when he split off the Whitey Ford Sings the Blues was
So
great stuff too.
underrated, Yeah,
Yeah,
Such an
man.
Underrated album.
Yeah.
Casino or Goodfellas?
Goodfellas.
Man,
Oh, the
Casino.
Casino.
Thank you. Finally, someone agrees
Casino.
with me. Goodfellas, great movie, but Casino, that is art.
Raw.
Yeah.
Super, super raw.
You 2 out of 10 are the only ones that said casino. But
That's
okay.
fine. As long as I got Blake by me, I'm good. More ways
We're
than one.
20%. We're 20%.
Tombstone or Young Guns?
Tombstone.
Tombstone.
There's no question.
Tombstone's one of the best.
I'll be a Huckleberry.
Yeah, he's so good in that.
Oh,
He says,
my
"I got a
goodness.
pistol for each of you."
Yeah.
Speaking of Val Kilmer, Heat or The Departed?
Ooh.
The Departed.
Oh, I would go Heat.
I go The Departed is so intense.
Departed have so many stars in there too.
Oh,
But-
my
And plot twist.
Wait, hold
And
on.
plot twist.
And he doesn't? Al
Let-
Pacino, Robert De
De Niro.
Niro,
He has stars.
Val
but plot
Kilmer,
twist.
Sizemore.
But yeah, but
I mean, you don't get bigger than De Niro and
you
Pacino.
got
That's
Jack
the only
Nicholson
movie
as
that
well.
Yeah,
Matt Damon.
but you got De Niro and Pacino in the same movie. And actually, Val Kilmer might have.
You have
been the best
everybody.
performance in
Departed,
that
but Departed was good, written very well.
The
Yeah, I mean,
Departed.
both great movies, obviously.
Yeah. So Heat is a Michael Mann film. Departed is The Departed is
Departed.
Scorsese.
Scorsese.
And I tend to like Scorsese's right. Michael Mann, I love his movies. God, I mean, you go back to Miami Vice, dude. But man, it's like a slower movie, but super intense. The Departed, I just thought that movie's done so well.
Okay, let's knock these out because I want to talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
election
all right.
before we have to run.
All right.
Matter of
Larry
fact-
kind of stole this.
Matter of fact, I do have to run. It's been fun, Trey.
You out?
I got
Yeah.
5 minutes.
TSA don't wait on 5 minutes.
They wait on
Oh,
Larry
you got a
Love.
flight to catch?
Yeah, I have a
All right,
flight. I have a flight, man. I got to get to
My
DC, man.
Later.
Hey, listen, you know, it's been over a month. You know, we do all monthly get together, so maybe next time I come home.
We got
All right, man. Yeah, come in.
Oh, we got to do a pick
Yeah,
too.
let me knock these out real quick.
All right.
Let me knock these out real quick. Larry kind of already stole. Newt Gingrich or Paul Ryan?
I'll go Paul Ryan on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Wire, Sopranos.
Sopranos.
Agree. Do the Right Thing or Higher Learning?
Do the right thing.
Higher learning.
I would go Higher Learning too. Both great. Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society?
Boys in the Hood.
Juice.
Boys in the Hood was this is so cheesy. Is the first movie that made me cry. When they shot
yeah, Ricky, absolutely. And that music was the music
I was sitting there. I watched that movie alone. Again, it's Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I remember saying, "Oh my God, am I going to cry?" Asking myself, but man, that's a
Juice or
heavy.
South Central?
Juice.
Mm-hmm. House Party or Friday?
Friday.
Friday.
And it would be but House Party ahead of its time, you
It
know.
was the Friday.
Real
Game
quick, since we
changer.
only got a couple minutes,
Yeah.
Trey, your prediction on what's going to happen in the general election and the governor election. I think I'm already calling him Governor Donalds, but Congressman Donalds, clear-cut favorite. Who do you see as his biggest competition? One or two names, if he does indeed decide to run for governor.
So,
because
For the presidential, Trump needs to be better protected. That's way too heavy right now to deal with at the end of this. I think Trump wins, but he needs to outperform,
Trump wins?
overperform. I think so. I do think so. He needs to beat, though, what I think will be, I'm not going to even call it illegal, but the ballot harvesting that is perfectly legal, but the way that Democrats have mastered that in cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, that I think is some of the toughest things he needs to overcome. So looking ahead to the gubernatorial, I would love it if Byron ran. I think that Matt Gaetz and Byron Donalds are the two favorites immediately. The Tallahassee conventional wisdom is that, those two in a primary are going to decimate each other and someone else is going to come up the middle. And that's the thinking of Jimmy Petronis, Wilton Simpson, and Ashley Moody, and maybe others.
I heard a name pop up yesterday at a dinner I thought was interesting. Casey DeSantis.
I have heard that there is no way in hell she's running.
I agree.
And someone very close to them told me that that she's not going to do it. Look, you never know, but I don't know if I love Casey. For the record, love her again. Her wife, Ron's wife, Casey, and my wife, we all hung out together. But to get into a Republican primary in the state of Florida with titans like a Byron Donalds, like a Matt Gaetz, and the money that a Wilton Simpson has, or Ashley Moody, that's going to be a rough ass battle. And I don't know if anyone that's a newcomer wants to get into that.
Byron by a million. 30 seconds, Blake. Let them know. Becker Custom Home Builders, along with Maxwell Team and Jimmy P sponsor. Let them know about Becker Custom Home.
Becker Custom Builders, luxury high-end remodel company, as well as new construction, additions, etc. Showroom on Shirley Street. Check us out. We're all over social media and the internet.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Blake. We appreciate you, Trey.
This is awesome.
I just crossed
Great to
off
hang
an
out.
item off my bucket list.
All right.
Literally, I had Trey on our podcast. I'm good. Another great day. We got to get Larry's got to fly
Thank you
out
guys,
to
man, for
DC.
having me.
Too
No,
bad we got to
thank you,
run.
Blake.
See you on
Yeah.
another one.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's
All
right.
right,
Thank
there we go.
you.
Thank you.
Let's do a quick picture for Larry.